Good morning. Welcome to the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show, brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. We have a jam-packed show for you. I'm Harvey Free. To my right, Harry Glanz.
Good morning, Harvey. Good morning, everybody. We do have a jam-packed show talking about home inspections today, talking about the market, talking about everything going on leading up to the end of the year, right? The end of the year is coming up. People are probably put it in neutral if they didn't put it in park right now. But if you're in neutral and you're out in the market, I got to tell you, there's still activity out there. And we're going to be talking about that this morning.
I like that. Lisa Lawson joins us from the office. Good morning, Lisa. Thanks
morning,
for
everybody.
bringing in this fine staff here. Matt Bush from RE/MAX. How you doing?
Thanks for having me back.
Always, Matt. And you bring in Kevin Scanlon from Home Inspection Professionals. Hey, Kev, welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Wait, how did you bypass the fact that they're
getting
dressed
there.
up? How did you bypass that?
If you're watching us on Facebook, yeah, these guys are in full costume here. Introduce
I
your
feel underdressed.
costume.
Yes.
Who are you
Yeah.
dressed as, Matt?
Buddy the Elf.
He's the elf.
My office, we're doing photos with Santa Claus for some of our clients and their appreciation. So after this, I'm going to be handing out hot cocoa and cookies and getting snot all over me. So we are appropriately dressed.
Kevin, I know there's a character that you are, but you also could be the guys from Dumb and Dumber if you didn't see that one.
No, I mean, I'm just me, man. I got 4 of these jackets. Matt told me, like, I'm wearing Buddy the Elf. I was like, I'll wear my red sequence jacket to kind of match the vibe a little bit.
Yeah, he's got the red sequence jacket on, and he looks good and very festive. It's that time of year where people are in a festive mood. But, Harvey, we're talking about housing right now. Prices of houses are not going down. Mortgage rates are not going down. We have to clear that up right away so we can get everybody on the same page. Anybody who thinks the rates are coming down dramatically right this second, they're wrong. Going into 2025, we know they will come down, Matt. We do. We know they'll come down. We don't know how much and we don't know when, but we do know they're going to be, they're in the 7% range now. They've hovered in that range on average. Were there pockets where it came down a little bit? Sure, but on average, they were above 7%. I'm going to tell you on average for 2025, they're going to be below 7%.
Sure.
So that's where I'm going.
Well, they need to be. We need to get people back into the market, and cheaper money is always the best way to do that. It increases people's buying powers because, as you said, the cost of houses aren't coming down. So we need to reduce that interest rate so people can afford more house to get into what that is. And then we need to keep supporting first-time homebuyer products. Really continue to educate the market as to what kind of programs are out there so people can have the money to put into those first-time homes, whether it's to actually for the down payment or to get them to what you need or you expect as a first-time home. I'm seeing a lot of former landlords retiring right now that are sitting on 4 or 5 houses, and these houses haven't been updated since the late 90s, early 2000s. So that's what I see a lot of first-time buyers doing, and they are having to do a lot of work because it's still those. Let's say they were probably home quarters cabinets and stuff that you would find at Builder Square. So
those are some names I haven't heard in a while.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'll tell you that is the truth. Somebody is not going to update the home. A landlord is not going to update the house if they don't need to, right?
Yeah,
so they're just trying to turn every year, every 2 years, or whatever the time frame is. They're just trying to turn tenants.
Yeah, if they've paid for it cash 20 years ago, or they refinanced it and got out of it, and it's all free and clear, and they're making their $1,200, $1,300, $1,500 a month, depending on where the market is, and they've got a good paying tenant. Why do any of the updates? Why increase the rent to, maybe have a little bit of an issue with them? Just as long as the check's clear on the first, that's all that matters. Everyone's happy.
Which is a great segue to our guest, right? Which is a great segue. If you're going to buy a home, you need a home inspector. That's absolutely 100% the top of the priority list when you enter into an agreement that you have to put in there that you need an inspection period, correct?
Yes.
Kevin, it's not only the obvious stuff, too. People are walking into homes, and obviously they can see that it hasn't been updated, hasn't been touched. You could look at a rusty old hot water heater and pretty much determine that's going to have to be replaced. But there's all that other stuff, and having a professional like yourself. I mentioned you. Tell me, even the last home you went out to, what were some of the things you're finding most often nowadays?
So recently, I would say in the last couple months, the biggest thing we've been seeing, at least I've been seeing, is mold, actually. So mold is kind of a big thing in real estate. People ask me all the time, Kevin, how often do you find mold? Every day. I find mold every day. Now, again, every house is different, case by case. So the most extreme case was about last month. I was in Algonac. House was covered top to bottom in the attic.
Yeah.
crawl space, on the kitchen cabinets. Like, it was everywhere.
And
So-
this is the bad stuff.
Yeah, break it down. There's that toxic black mold and there's other types of mold. So break that down for everybody listening because there is a huge difference.
Yeah, so it's rare that we find like toxic mold. Okay, don't get me wrong, mold is bad. It's bad for our health, or respiratory illnesses. All right. When someone tells me it's like, oh, I have black mold in the house, I kind of giggle a little bit because mold, black is a characteristic. There's a lot of different kind of mold spores. You won't know the exact kind of mold you have until you test it and send it to the lab. But most guys in the industry, they can visibly look and like, yeah, and they got some organic growth going on right here. So mold needs two things. One, it needs zero ventilation and it needs high moisture levels. And so if you have those two things, mold is going to eventually develop.
But
So
there's
here we
ways
are.
to fix it. That's what mold remediation is about. So just because you find a house that you love, I mean, it's probably depending on the extent of the mold that you have, doesn't mean that it's a goner, or that you can't move in. Sometimes you have to get an expert, get a mold remediator.
Right.
They can fix it, remove it, and make sure that it doesn't come back. There's retardants that they can spray. They can add ventilation. Sometimes there's bathrooms with no fans. So I don't want someone to see like, oh, this house is perfect, except
There you
the
go.
attic had mold. Well, this is Michigan. We have a lot of moisture
yeah.
here. This isn't the desert. It's almost common, right? I mean, it just kind of happens. It's a natural phenomenon of a little bit older home. And I don't want someone, now, obviously there's cases where that's not the case, but that's why you hire an inspector.
But Lisa, I think that's the big thing here when we talk about people. If you go into a house, there's going to be mold there. When they hear mold, that's a bad,
Just like
bad
dust. It
four-letter
happens.
word to people. But
Yeah.
it doesn't necessarily have to be bad, and it doesn't need to kill the deal, Matt. So that's it. So you can clean it up. And by the way, remediation sounds like a huge word when you have that black toxic mold. But if you have a little bit of mold here and you can clean it up, it'll be fine, right?
Yeah, and so the thing is, if I bring Kevin to one of my clients' houses and he finds mold, any other inspector, if we pull out of the deal, is going to find that same mold, right? So wouldn't the seller rather just work with me and Kevin and get that taken care of as opposed to
Right.
putting the house back on the market, having the next inspector find mold, having the deal fall through for the third time?
And if it's noted, don't they have to disclose it? Like once the
Yeah,
seller
you-
knows they have it,
but
technically
then you'll have some agents who won't tell the sellers or they'll do plausible deniability. So yeah,
Listen,
it's,
there's so
it's a
much
shell
value.
game.
Can you believe we're sitting here on December 14th? We're having a mold conversation.
conversation.
And this
Why
is
not?
so like people are yawning. They're turning over. They're turning it up. Mold. And this is what we're talking about. But you have to, in all seriousness, you have to discuss these things because there are people out there right now getting ready to put offers in, and they're thinking about waiving an inspection. That's the number one flaw that I come across in 35 years of people are so excited that they don't want to go ahead and kill the deal with the seller and say, we want a home inspection. I can't believe it.
And I would tell you 95% of the time, if a buyer's inspector finds mold, the seller will pay for it before close because they don't want to have that deal fall through, another inspector and find it, that deal fall through,
Yeah.
and keep going through the cycle. So
And often
it's
the
a
first-
$1,500 process.
Right.
We're not
Right.
talking tens of thousands of dollars.
Most
Even
yeah.
a 3,000 square foot house, you're looking at maybe $3,000. So
And most sellers don't know it. Everyone thinks like, oh, the seller, they don't know it. Most people aren't going up. I don't think I've ever
Yeah.
been in my attic ever. Like most people have no clue. That's often where they find it, right? They don't know that they have it until someone from a home inspection who's buying their home says, hey, by the way, you have a little bit of a thing. And most sellers are happy to fix it. Sometimes they're like, oh my gosh, I had no clue. So sorry. They get it handled and we move on.
Yeah, people should really understand that foundation issues. You talk about the mold. You talk about, there's general wear and tear too. You have to look at roofs. I mean, you take a look
Yeah,
at a roof, and
absolutely.
all the big ticket items are what people really want to know, and then they want to know what the underlying long-term effects that are going on in that house. Listen, if somebody lived in that house for 35 years, chances are it's got another 135 years in it, right? I mean, so there's probably really nothing wrong with it, but I wouldn't take the chance on skipping an inspection.
it's the best $300 you'll ever spend,
you go.
and it'll save you from a $300,000 mistake.
All right. Well, we segue right into listing that house, and I love it. You come out and you don't want to have these sellers take an offer, go down the road 3 or 4 weeks on it. They finally get an offer, the inspection's done, and now we're backwards again because something small like this came up. Again, small or big. And there's other things that can be fixed too, Matt. I love that idea that you and the top listing agents around town are willing to have those difficult conversations with sellers. Look, this is going to bite into their net profit, but at the end of the day, by presenting a better product out there, they're going to get more for the house.
Yeah, and just like what you guys, we are on the mortgage side as real estate brokers, we have to provide our value to our customer. So it's having that critical conversation that's sometimes difficult, but knowing how to do it and putting it to where it makes the client come first. It makes it understand that this is what's best for your family, so we can put you and your family in the best position to be successful moving forward.
So, Matt, I was at a mortgage banking conference last week, and a bunch of realtors were there, and we were talking about it, and they said the same thing. We said that we in the mortgage industry always have to have uncomfortable conversations. We talk about rates. We talk about costs. We talk about miscellaneous fees. We talk about paying down a mortgage. We talk about all the things that have to do with the money aspect of it. What really came to the forefront is realtors never did that. You guys never in mass, I'm not talking about some didn't, but the people I was talking to said, yeah, in our office, we never had to discuss what fees were because the fees were always paid by who?
Sellers.
The seller. Right. And that's been the way it's been. But now everybody thinks they get a discount for selling a house. So the uncomfortable conversation has to be dealt with up front, Matt Bush.
And the buyers are even thinking that they can get a discount by going directly to the listing
Listing agent.
broker.
Correct.
But the listing broker has a fiduciary responsible to the seller. So why it's almost like suing somebody and then using their attorney to represent you. Like it doesn't make sense.
Right.
So
Bottom line, you should better get it all disclosed up front and then go look for a house.
yeah, talk to somebody that you trust, right? Don't just click a button on the internet and find somebody. Interview people, interview more than one because they say 80% of people that talk to a realtor sign on with the first one they speak. Talk to a second one. Get a second opinion.
Get a third one.
If you go to a doctor,
You talk to 3 lenders. Why aren't you talking to 3 agents?
if you go to a doctor and you don't get like what he says, you're going to get a second opinion. Do the same thing in real estate.
Absolutely.
No question.
No doubt about that. Housing supplies, affordability, these are critically low levels. They've been that way for a couple of years, causing some other things, overbidding, people dropping their guard down and waiving these inspections and stuff. And Kevin's here to tell you all morning long that get that home inspection done. We always talk about not only is there eyes above the ground to check out things you can visually see, but you're doing the mold radon gas inspections. If you see some mold, you got to get that tested. You're doing the sewer line inspection. Matt, there's other things. You got the structural foundation issues, looking at roofs.
Well, I was just going to talk about sewer inspections because especially we've got a lot of older houses, the Grosse Points, the Bloomfields, a lot of clay lines out there, St. Clair Shores, Royal Oak, right? So, for another $120 to $200, I'm going to put a camera through the line to make sure I'm not making a $10,000 mistake, right? Because you are responsible for your house all the way to the city connection. So if that city connection's in your front yard, you might get away with it for $5,000 or $6,000. But if it's on the neighbor's side of the other side of the street, you're looking at maybe $15,000 in
Right.
permits.
Got it.
All right, we're going to fly through the show today. Keep it here on 97.1 The Ticket, 248-539-9797. We'll be back with your calls. All right, welcome back to the show 916. If you're just joining us, it's the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. You can call us all week long at 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker. Also powered by CMG Home Loans, NMLS. 1-820 Equal Housing Lender. Calls definitely will be coming in all morning long. 248-539-9797. Matt Bush, RE/MAX, Kevin Scanlon with Home Inspection Professionals. You can find these guys easily. Just Matt Bush is easy enough. But Kevin Scanlon, homeinspectionprofessionals.com. It's a great place if you need a home inspection. If you get an offer accepted over the weekend, they answer the calls throughout the weekend long. Get that home inspection set up again. Time's always of the essence. As you want to, if you do find something wrong with the house or something that needs to be addressed, you got time here. You can still almost getting not really so much anymore. At least you used to be able to pour concrete now. I think you still can if you put the mixture in there and stuff, but homes have
I don't pretend
issues.
to understand that. I'm just going to be like, pass.
Hey, look, homes, even Matt, again, they just, unless it's a new construction, even new constructions have some flaws in them, but homes are on the older side here. And I think it's the best thing we said here in Michigan, all the different seasons. We already talked about the moisture. We're not going to talk about mold too much this morning anymore. But no doubt, there's always something wrong with an older house. It's okay. You know, my furnace is like 24 years old. I don't know. Nancy was down in the crawl space yesterday. She's up in, we're always looking for home improvements. And that's what home ownership's really all about. You're keeping the home up to snuff with the appreciation that's going on. Again, you can't have everything going up, and then you want to get top dollar for your house lease, and then sure enough, you've got all these old things, old furnaces,
You haven't
old
done
hot
an
water. You haven't done
update.
anything.
Everything is original. Everything's 25, 30 years old. You've got original windows that you put your hand next to. You can feel the draft, and someone's like, well, it's a seller's market. I should get that top dollar. You get a top dollar offer when you have a top dollar house. You still have to do updates. You still have to make sure that it's maintained properly. And I think there's a little bit of misconception that in a seller's market, you don't have to do those things. And you don't, but you're not going to get the top dollar that you're looking for. You know, people making offers are going to say, well, you know, your furnace is 24 years old. You've never replaced the windows. They're 30 years old. You know what I mean? Everything, your roof was done 20 years ago, you know, and these are the things that inspection helps with to get these ages and stuff. And so obviously, you know, if you're going to sell your home, that's awesome. There's a housing shortage.
Which
it won't last long.
I think that's a great point.
Yeah.
I really do. I think that's a great point. But because buyers have certain tolerance levels, Matt.
That's a good way to put it.
They have a certain tolerance where they're going to walk into a house, and if they see things that they want to change, they can accept that. There are certain things, but everybody has a level, right? It seeks their own level, and everybody's different. So when you take people out, they probably look at you and go, yeah, I can take care of that. I'll take care of that. I can take care of that. And then there are the non-negotiables to push them over the line.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that. I cannot believe that they want this dollar amount for this house. I am not doing it. You just have to find the right match, don't you?
Yeah, and like I showed a house in Grosse Pointe yesterday, and a beautiful house, but the kitchen was a little bit dated. And at that price point in Grosse Pointe, you expect to have a done kitchen, because if you buy a house in Grosse Pointe and you remodel the kitchen, it comes with the Grosse Pointe tax, because every contractor's going to hit you because they know they can. And then that, you know, $50,000 kitchen in Grosse Pointe is a $20,000 kitchen in St. Clair Shores, or vice versa, right? You're paying $20,000 in St. Clair Shores, you go across.
You're crushing some contractors
Right.
today. So lower. He didn't really mean that high.
Yeah. But, well, I mean, some of these big houses, they're big. You know, you're putting Melee appliances, you're doing big stones.
Yeah.
You know, you're not going cheap, granite. We're not talking, you know, this is Grosse
Yeah, you
Pointe
throw in
versus-
the quartz, you're redoing the floors. Now you got European appliances coming in. It can get real expensive real quick.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but again, to your point, yes, you know, when money was cheaper and it was 3.5%, I can walk into a house and say, hey, I'll fix this because my mortgage payment's going to be $800 a month. Now my mortgage payment for the same house is 12 to 13. I have less money in my pocket after mortgage comes out to make those updates. So when I'm moving in, I want something that's more turnkey.
Yeah, so when we go over mortgage payments, mortgage costs, and things of that nature in the future, one of the first questions we ask is, how long do you think you're going to be in the house? Now, nobody has a crystal ball, but if you can give us a range, is this a 3 to 5 year house? Is it an under 3 year house?
Is this your forever house?
Is it a 5 to 10? Are you just going to raise the kids here? We love the school district. We're going to be here for a long time. At least that gives us an idea, and then we go ahead and have people plan, because we know something is going to come up where you're going to have to sink more money into that house. So it helps us plan and get to people's goals and objectives.
Absolutely.
And if you don't have a plan, Lisa, then you're just, what are you,
Yeah.
What are you fishing in a stream without
Right.
any bait?
And that's
I mean,
why
what
you-
kind of
Without
plan
a
do we
pole.
have?
And
Without
that's why you need that home inspection, because they're going to set you up short term, long term,
Right.
and midterm, just like you guys do in the mortgage industry. Is hey, these are the red flags that you're going to want to look at the next 3 to 5 years. These are the things we can wait 5 to 10 for, and then just hey, overall in general, just keep an eye on these things. So when you move into a house, you know, hey, these are the things that are going to be on my more immediate bucket list. So I need to start budgeting for these things.
All right, before we go into the inventory and some other ways on purchasing a house and why you should be looking at purchasing a house December, January, and February versus waiting till the springtime, we'll get into that. Lisa, I ran into a client, good conversation yesterday, but his credit score he mentioned was under 700. And the first thing I did was, look, your time frame's the next 2 or 3 months. Why is it there? And what can we do to increase that? Sure enough, I set him up with a credit repair company that might be able to remove a collection account, and if that happens, his credit score will go up. Just there won't be a bad glitch on his credit anymore. How important it to take a conventional buyer that's at a 680 credit score to 740
Yeah.
to 760? It's so important. You got a window to do it now.
Yeah, so you can get an approval on a conventional mortgage at a 680, but your rate is not going to be very competitive at a 680, especially if you're not putting a big chunk of change down. I shouldn't say that.
5% down.
Yeah,
on
if
that
you're
guy,
putting
yeah.
a small amount down, like 3, 5, 10%, your rate is not going to be very competitive. And then you're going to call these lenders, you're going to be like, I don't understand. Or your cost for a lower rate will be high because you have to buy your rate down. So if making a phone call and finding out that if we can get a collection removed, or sometimes it's not even paying off debt, it's shifting debt around. You might have too much on one card, you have a zero balance on another. There's other ways to handle that to get your score up. To me, and I preach this all the time, everybody knows it, it's about credit score maximization, debt to income maximization. There's ways to get loans done without necessarily having to pay off a big, huge debt. But that's why you need to talk to a loan officer who understands credit, how it works, and how it plays into an approval. So, and I think that's so important because, yes, you can have a conventional approval at 680. That's not a problem. But it's not necessarily the best decision for the buyer, especially if a couple phone calls can make it a 740.
Lisa, that's a service that we provide. That's a service that you've provided forever for
doesn't
nothing.
cost anything.
It's free.
Right.
It's a service, and you are really good at counseling and advising people on their credit issues. And by the way, getting their scores up a few points here or there. So I believe that's important. People need to know that. If you think you don't qualify, make the call. If you think you qualify and something comes up, you got to make the call.
Yeah.
So it's all about talking to the right people and getting the knowledge and expertise involved. And much of this can be done with no obligation. Don't start giving your credit card number over the phone to people. I can't stand that. When I hear people took a hostage deposit money on a Visa card.
No.
Right?
But you don't need to have the lender actually run your credit report. You got to figure out that time frame. If you think you have some credit blemishes, again, by calling these credit repair companies, they can make it where it doesn't show as a hard inquiry, nothing bad to your credit score, and moving that credit score up so you get a better interest rate, lower PMI. Again, you mentioned at least if you're putting 5 or 10 or less than 20% down, you're paying mortgage insurance. Again, that's based on your credit score. Furthermore, your car insurance, your home insurance, that's going to keep that cost down. So there's 3 factors right there. By improving that credit score, it makes you a better buyer. Do what you can to improve your chances at the best possible deal.
And so many people don't understand credit. I had someone call the other day and they were in the, I'm going to be very honest, low 500s. And it wasn't that they had bad credit. They had one blemish and lack of credit. Because people there's fear, right? Like you don't open a credit card or you get a little nervous. They had a medical collection, which is not even, stuff happens. We get it. But they had no open trade lines at all. A trade line is a credit line, like a credit card. And I said, seriously, this is not bad. It sounds bad to you, but all we need to do is open a secured card. And their score, no joke, projected from 522 to 678. That's like a 150-point jump. Now, that's not a guarantee for everybody because it depends on your specific card. But for people who have a fear and they just decide not to use credit, those are usually the easiest ones to fix.
Right. People don't understand that just because that they have 1 or 2 trade lines and they pay 2 out of the 3 on time, why is my score low?
Right.
Well, guess what? You have one of those trade lines, 1/3 of your credit score is dependent on one thing that you didn't pay.
Right.
So it's killing your score.
Sometimes one collection, I had somebody call the other day. They thought they were in the 800s and they were six something, high sixes.
But
and
it
they're
runs
like, I don't
both ways,
understand.
right? It runs both ways.
But I told her, I said, well, you have this collection. And she's like, I do. She has no clue. She's like, well, I got in a fight with them. It was like a moral stance, right? Where you don't pay something because something. The problem is if you don't resolve that properly, it can damage you for a very long time. A collection stays on your report 7 years. You know what I mean? It's going to impact your score significantly for the first few years. So, yes, I understand your moral stance, but because this wasn't handled in a way that, was collectively agreed upon. It's now in your credit report. You thought you were an 800, you're in the high sixes. Like, that's a huge swing for you, so getting the right information and properly seeing it through. I get creditors are frustrating and some people just throw in the towel and be like, I'm not talking to them anymore. Well, the only thing you're hurting is yourself.
Hey, you guys got Keystone House called in. Devin Title calls in and says, how come you're not talking about Kevin's mustache? Okay, Kev, that's it. We're just going to go there with it. We'll leave it right there. And the answer to that is the younger generation, man. They know how to style. We just don't get it. 248-539-9797. Kevin, don't worry. We'll get back to home inspections.
Yeah.
All right, we take all your calls all morning long. And, of course, we want to talk about what's going on if there's not enough interest in the house. Is it priced too high? Before you drop that price, what else can you do, Matt Bush?
Honestly, reverse prospect. If your agent's not reverse prospecting, that's kind of where we're at, right?
Explain what that means.
Yeah, so in our MLSs, and I think what it's really worth is I can find anybody who's got an agent that's looking for a house that matches the criteria of my listing. So before that house is even active with showings going on, if you have a buyer that's looking for something that remotely matches the criteria of my house, you've gotten 3 emails from me. You've gotten a video tour. You've gotten blast about this house to get in that house to your client so that when it is live and it is active, you're not calling me on a Monday saying, hey, can I get in? Oh no, we went pending on Sunday.
Yeah.
All right, we'll talk after the break. We'll talk about what's the temperature of the market. I don't mean that it's 17 below zero. I'm talking about what's going on right now, especially from December 14th all the way through January 15th.
We're going to get a deal if they
we got to
listen
talk
around.
about that.
All right, you're listening to the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show. Sports follows us at 10 o'clock. Keep it here, 248-539-9797. We'll be right back.
Oh, it took 26 minutes.
Welcome back to the show, 9:30. That's Audio Slave. We're the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Video Show. Yeah, that's right.
Video show?
Did I say video show?
You
You
did.
just said video show.
Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show.
We could be a video show.
We're on YouTube, aren't we?
We technically
We are on
YouTube.
video right now
we
on
are.
Facebook Live. You
And
want to check
radio.
out these guys all in costume here. The Christmas season is among us. I love it. I love this time of year. And then, I'll tell you what, the weather's not so bad. We expect some cold weather and stuff. Got some snow out on the mountains. It's not too bad.
I was gonna say, I got
It's where I'm wearing a hat.
But you know what? During holiday time, we should get into this a little bit, and then we'll get back to what's the temperature of the market. But right now, you have to be acutely aware of all the holiday scams going on.
Oh, thanks, Harry.
Okay,
Yep.
so you're getting text from people you don't know. You're getting email from people you don't know. Okay, you're getting calls from people you don't know. They're trying to tell you what rates are doing. It's just not happening. You have to be aware. You're going to get all these offers in the mail, and I have handfuls of them every single day.
Yep.
Please call somebody you trust. It does not cost you anything to call us. 1-800-LOW-RATE, 248-569-7283, and we will take a look at that document for you. If it's real, we'll tell you. If it's not real, we'll tell you to stay away. But
I mean,
anyways,
there's an adage. If it sounds too good to be true,
Yeah,
it probably is.
chances
If someone's
are.
telling you they can get you a rate in the 4s with no points, that's not the truth.
no, even that, Lisa, when we talked about it, there's no such thing as 6 1/4 for 0 points and
Correct.
0 cost.
Correct.
It's not out there. They're lying to you. Stop with that, please. You got to stop with that. Do me a favor. Rates have gone up. They're not going down. There's no 6 1/4, no point, no cost on the 30-year fix. So anybody want to challenge me, call me.
No,
Because it's
absolutely
not
right.
out there. So, man, talk about the temperature in the market right now. People automatically, they're desperate. I believe that they want to sell their house during the winter, and the first line of defense, they want to go ahead and call you up and say, drop the price.
Yeah, so I think right now you have the most serious buyers of all time. Just this part of the year, right? Typically from Thanksgiving to Valentine's Day, you know, believe it or not, we're in a buyer's market right now because nobody wants to be moving their couch when it's snowing right now. Nobody wants to be driving you all, you know, down icy roads. So if you are thinking about buying a house now until about Valentine's Day, you're going to get the best deal. Because if you are selling your house and you are opening your house while it's cold out to random strangers to come into your house,
You're serious.
you want to sell your house.
Yes.
You're not trying to ride the summer wave, see what I can get from my house, maybe I'll sell it. You are downsizing, divorcing, something happened, you had a family circumstance and you
Yeah.
need to sell this house. So buyers, if you're even thinking about waiting till spring till it warms up, do not do that because you're just going to
Save
ride the
yourself.
wave with buyers. Get in now, start having conversations now, call Lisa now, see where your credit is, then give me a shout and we'll look at what you can afford, where you are, and we will find you a house with a serious seller and a serious buyer, and you put together a deal that's great for two families.
Right. And you eliminate a lot of competition. By the time you wait till spring and it warms up, you're going to be in the masses with everybody else that waited to spring and when it warmed up.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Well, it's very
Don't
well
wait.
said. I mean, and that's the point we make every single winter. And in
Right.
society right now, between today and January, the first week of January, you know, January 10th, everybody is checking out mentally. They're checking into dressing like Buddy the Elf. Or putting on a cool little sequins outfit, all right? And they're going through the holiday time and they're just meandering through till after the old saying, air quotes, until after the first of the year.
After the holidays.
Business is being transacted right now. You can get great deals. You can do a lot of things. You can buy a lot of great things and sell a lot of great things if you just keep your eye on the ball, Matt Bush.
Yeah, and so there are a lot of people that, you know, maybe they missed the summer and they weren't ready to sell in, you know, July, and that got pushed to September, October. And now those houses are 60, 90 days on the market, right? So someone who listed in October expected it to be gone by October. Well, it's the beginning of December now, right? So you're probably itching, like you're thinking, hey, let's drop the price. That's in the initial. Well, hey, as a buyer's agent, I'm thinking, hey, they've been sitting on this market for 60 days. They're probably thinking about dropping the price. If they drop the price, that's going to bring a whole new class of buyers to it. So why don't I go show the house, write them an offer of something that I think is a good price, and maybe I'll get them to drop the price less than they were thinking that they would drop the price, and I get a deal. Or, you know, and I avoid, you know, 4 more other showings, and my buyer gets the deal of their lifetime. Or, hey, maybe we just wrap some seller concessions in there, so now it's a cheaper in for my client, and now they're in for either the holidays or maybe they're offering possession post close, and they're just going to move in January or February anyways, and they don't even have to worry about that moving in the U-Haul in the wintertime.
And seller concessions are amazing because if you're a seller and you're worrying about moving it, we can turn seller concessions into temporary and permanent buy downs for the buyer. So people who are worried like the rates are a little higher than they were hoping, if you're a seller and you're motivated to sell this property, offer concessions because loan officers can take that concession and yeah, sometimes we can just, you know, reduce funds to close, but a lot of times makes more sense to reduce somebody's payment for the life of the loan. So it's
Right.
another great incentive to sell your property. And everyone doesn't really understand that. They just think, oh, I'm going to give them $3,000 off closing. Well, you could give them $3,000 to buy down the rate.
Right. If you give them $3,000 to buy
Right.
down the rate, and that's 1 point, that's the equivalent of 1 point on a
Right.
$300,000 house. You've just helped that buyer go from, and I'm going to use round numbers here. You just help them go from 7% to 6.75%. All right, with doing nothing but giving them $3,000.
Right.
That they didn't have to take out of their pocket. You took a very small haircut on the price of the house.
On what you're going to profit.
but
Yep.
but everybody won there. It was a perfect win-win situation.
So
All right.
that's, I mean, to me, if I was a seller that, had a property
That's
sitting
what you
for
do.
60 days, I would be like, absolutely, we're going to offer concessions. I'm going to do a buy down. I will buy down the seller's rate. And I think that's a really great way to move property that's been sitting there for a minute.
And that's where having a professional agent makes sense, because that's me making my commission is reaching out to the agents, calling them, texting them, communicating what my seller's willing to do to traverse the deal and put something together. And it's out there getting, planting the flag and making a big deal so people see that, not just dressed up as a costume.
All right, if your listing is expiring, definitely want to call Matt Bush at RE/MAX and find out a new angle. 18.6% of the homes get a price reduction starting in October.
Yeah.
That happened in October of 24. It happened in October of 23. They think just dropping the price, where, like we said, offering concessions, allowing yourself, if you're not ready to move, take that offer. Maybe they lowball you a little bit. You make less, but maybe you could stay for 60
Right.
days. They'll give you that 60
Give you
days
some
occupancy.
occupancy.
And maybe one or two other ideas, Matt, I had it written down here. They said give it a whole fresh look. Virtual staging is very important. Maybe the house is just a complete mess. It has too much clutter in it. By doing some additional staging, that can also help.
And a lot of photographers locally that I've worked with, they can do virtual staging too.
Good.
Through their packages. I have got a great guy, Reflections by Mike Nelson. He's an awesome guy. And he can do virtual staging through the packages that he sends me. There's a bunch of websites you can do it for, usually about $100 a picture. But honestly, just declutter, bring it down a little bit. It's really, we work hard, us agents. I know that people don't believe that, right? We just think we put a sign in someone's front yard and go
Hey,
on
only
to
the ones
beach.
that are really successful work
Right.
hard.
That's
Yeah,
true.
right?
Successful agents work hard, yes.
Right.
So we do earn our stripes. I think there was another Realtor.com or some study that said the average house sold by a realtor sold about $400,000, and the average FSBO this year was like $333,000. So there's quite a bit of difference in if my sign's in your front yard versus that placard that you got at Ace Hardware with your phone number on it. You're going to make a better deal. You're going to get some more money, and we're going to navigate you through the process.
All right, Lisa, I want to talk about getting some first-time home buyers in there. There's no federal grants right now, but you might be able to qualify for first-time home buyer programs. They're all over, state and local.
Tons of them.
State and local programs are still available. Go
Absolutely,
ahead.
tons of them. Some are local, like the city of Port Huron or Pontiac. There's a ton that are national, and everyone knows I'm a huge proponent of MSHDA, the Michigan Housing Development Authority. You don't always have to be a first-time home buyer. It depends where you're buying, but it's $10,000 towards down payment assistance. It's huge.
My girlfriend and I benefited from that.
Yeah,
good for
see,
you.
there you go. It's a big deal, and they're a below market rate. So you keep hearing rates are at the 7. Even with down payment assistance through MSHDA, the current rate 6.375. If you are blessed in someone, like I have a client right now whose family gifted him his down payment money, you don't need down payment assistance. MSHDA will still give you below market rate at 5.75. You cannot get a 5.75 anywhere else. Obviously, there's some income limitations with that program, but it is a phenomenal program for first-time home buyers. It's one of my favorites. There's other ones too. There's Chenoa. There's a whole bunch. So for some reason you can't fit into that MSHDA window, there are other ones that have no income limits, but there's so much out there. So don't think that I just can't afford it. I don't have a ton of money saved. I can't, you know what I mean? Make a phone call. You might not need as much as you think. You know what I mean? There's people sometimes pull retirement and get gifts. And we actually have a crowdfunding source that you can use called Home Fund It. It's phenomenal. And you do have to put time into it. So I have a client that just signed up, and I think within 3-4 days, we went from his mom put $100. Now he has $814. I just checked this morning. So, and these are people who donate. We match 2-to-1 up to $2,000. And so there's other ways to go about it, but the earlier you start, the better.
I like that a lot.
That's the key, early start. early start.
Your best bet is, of course, deal with local lenders. That's always your
Yeah.
best bet. Call us at Capital Mortgage Funding. We'll talk to you about all these different programs that are available. Again, licensed mortgage professionals. That's the key. You have to ask somebody if they're licensed also. If you're calling around and clicking buttons, you might just be talking to a call center where they don't have the experience. Again, we don't want you getting jammed up on one of the most expensive things you're ever going to buy, Matt. Success is all about getting the right people, professionals, and just learning a thing or two about it to make your successful home ownership. That's the way to go.
There are some things that AI can't do. Help you find a mortgage and figure out what's best for you. Help you find a house. These are things AI can't do. So, like us or hate us, we're going to be around. So just pick up the phone, find out what you're eligible for, and let's have a conversation, right? Our overlords haven't taken us over yet. So let's still figure out what's available.
That's the key. The key is having relationships and getting to the right people that know things, okay? And nobody knows everything, but the thing is that we know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that we can get the answers for if we don't have the answers. So I just got a text from our head of our condo team department. His name's Tim Parent. Hey, Tim. Northville guy. He runs the whole show for our entire firm nationwide on condominium developments, what's approved, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FHA. He runs the whole department. And when I have a question about a condo development, because listen, condo rules in Florida right now are going crazy. Homeowners Association dues, insurance, budgets. Yeah. All right. This guy,
Reserves.
if he doesn't know it, I don't know anybody who does. He's the guy that does. But the bottom line is we have the resources to go ahead and get you the answers, because all condominiums out there are not treated the same. All right, there are a lot of rules, a lot of regulations on there. So I'm letting you know. Shout out to Tim. Thanks a lot for texting. And we just want to get that in for condos.
Great point, Harry. Warrantable condominium versus non-warrantable condominium. When you go to sell it, that could become an issue. So also when you go to buy it, it become an issue. So
also,
definitely learn.
Assessments, roof assessments, roads, everything. Condominiums are treated differently, and they're looked upon as a difference, because let's face it, you need a lot of money in an association to meet certain minimums and repairs. You have to have
the proper
reserves,
insurance,
right?
Proper insurance,
Lisa.
because we just went through this. I had a client fell in love with the property. We got all the documentation in, and the association as a whole was underinsured. They dropped sinkhole coverage, which is a requirement by Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and the Federal Housing Administration. So it's not the association, it's the lender putting these requirements on. This is a Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac housing. Everybody has to do it. And they dropped it to save money on the insurance policy as a collective. Well,
that's a huge issue
it's
for
a
people
huge-
selling and buying.
Correct.
Those.
Well, that's what happened. So they were like, we dropped it, and then they increased some deductibles again to save money on
Right.
the premium, to the point where it was kind of excessive. And again, there's rules, right? Can't be more than 5%. All these different rules, and they broke, and we could not get the association to change anything. So there's reasons these are put into place, because if you buy that property and they need to file a claim, and it's going to be a $10,000, $100,000 deductible in this case, there was only 28 units. Divide that by 100,000 by 28 people. That's a lot of money for someone to come up with.
That's a huge
Well, that's
amount.
the thing. A friend of mine.
And that is why these rules are in place.
A friend of mine lives in a condo. The association noticed him up 45 days before they're going to go ahead and start doing roof repairs on the association. There's X amount of units in there. It's going to cost each person in there $50,000 or more, and they have to have the money within 45 days.
That's
Oh,
insanity.
my gosh,
Those
that's
numbers
crazy.
are scary.
Oh, yeah. There you
That's
go. And by the
crazy.
way, in the Master Deed and Bylaws, looking in the legal documents, it's well within their right to do it.
Wait a minute. Borrowers gained $425 billion in home equity in the third quarter. That's good news. We'll leave that on a good note. We got our last break coming up. Actually, our last break for 2024 already. I
that's so
can't believe
sad.
it. Where's this all going? Come and join us. 248-539-9797. Keep it here.
We got to call her.
That's right. There is good news out there. $425 billion in home equity, home ownership. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
We'll show you how to do it. Call Capital Mortgage Funding, 1-800-LOW-RATE. That's 1-800-569-7283. We'll go to a call. We got a caller coming in here. Raheen, you are live on the ticket. Go ahead and tell us about your equity situation.
Hi, how are you doing today?
Real good, sir.
Good. My name is Raheen. We're calling you out of Atlanta, Georgia, and my wife and I, we've been in our home for a little over 15 years. And my wife wanted to start a business, and she wanted to take some of the equity out of it, and trying to figure out whether we should take a HELOC or regular refinance, or what should be the steps that we take in moving forward.
How about a small business loan? I'll let the panel here handle it, but how about a small business loan? I'd hate to see, and again, I don't know what business she's getting into, but I've heard some bad stories over the past. People take their equity out of their house lease, and the business doesn't go the way they thought it was going to go. I'd rather get a small business loan.
I agree 100%. So my first suggestion would be the same thing. Get a small business loan. If for some reason you can't get a small business loan, and we don't know obviously the whole scenario, then I would say most likely a home equity line of credit. I'm assuming 15 years ago. What rate do you have right now? Do you know?
We had, I think we're at 6% right now. I think we're at 6%.
6. Okay. So, in that case, it's half a dozen of one, half a dozen of the other, because rates are a little bit higher than that. My guess would still be a home equity line, so we can leave your first rate at that lower 6%. Because rates right now, if you're trying to do like a cash out refi, are going to be more in the mid 7s, most likely, or low 7s. So I would say home equity, but really I would try not to touch the equity if you can help it. Do a small business loan.
Okay.
Harry, how come you're not coming through? There
Thank
you
you.
go. Get Harry's mic up there. We got you.
Yeah,
Hey, Raheen.
Thank you very much.
Hey, don't go anywhere yet. I love that you're listening to us from Atlanta. How did you find the show?
Actually, I have a friend that lives there in Detroit, and he
cool.
actually called and told me about it, because he and I had a conversation based on this, and this was perfect, and the timing was perfect.
Raheen, I got one more tough question for you. There was a refi boom in 2020, 21, and 22. How come you didn't refinance at 6% and get down to the 3s or the high 2s or something like that? What was going on just in the last 3 years that you didn't take advantage of that?
We had a brain cramp. We just didn't do it.
Honest, stuff happens.
All good, man. I wish your family the best of luck in your business. Thanks for calling in. Happy holidays to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. God bless y'all.
You
All right,
too.
it's all about timing in life. Sometimes, Harry, it's just about timing, or you didn't really miss the boat. 6% is not a bad rate all historically.
people
Historically,
don't-
it's great.
People don't know what they don't know, and the good thing is we're going to call them after the show. We're going to find out more particulars. Maybe we can go ahead and point them in the right direction, Lisa, because to leverage, depending on how much you want,
Right.
to leverage that against your house for a small, I think you can get a small business loan, especially a startup, and there are plenty of banks out there that will do it.
Find a local bank, because I
really
don't know.
do.
Starting a new business is hard. You don't want to tie that to your financial future
And to your personal home
right?
equity,
I hate
if you
to
can
see
help it.
I hate to see it. And because when the next refi boom comes in, sometimes that happens. People are all tied up. They've got these business loan liens on their mortgages, and that becomes an issue. So you want to lien your house, and then you tie your hands up, and you can't go ahead
Well,
and
we'll
refi.
find out how much he wants,
There you
what
go.
he's looking for, and we'll get in a
And
little bit more depth on
there's
that.
other subtleties to that, because if you have a second lien on your property and you want to all of a sudden get a lower rate, you take something that we call a rate and term refinance, which is a much more competitive rate than what a cash out refinance. Because if we have to take equity and pay off an additional lien because you took out that second, that interest rate's going to be higher than someone who only has one lien. So there's other subtleties to this type of question that most people don't get into, but just another reason to try to do maybe a small business loan first. Like I said, there may be a reason that can't happen, and we will call and evaluate all that in detail, but that would be obviously the best
So this
option.
is the difference out there. Okay, you call some mortgage hut, the mortgage warehouse, the mortgage hut, trunk of your car mortgage, and they would go ahead and automatically flip this guy into a cash out refi at a higher rate.
Yep.
First thing they're going to say is, "What's your social security number? Let's get you started."
And what's your Visa number? We want to take a deposit.
And people don't know what they don't know.
Right.
I mean, they just think that's the normal start of the process.
No.
And really, you need to listen to the question and really evaluate the situation, because getting a cash out refi might not be the best option for him. So I think that's what kind of sets us apart.
Yeah, and that's the whole purpose of everything that's happening on this table is we want to point you in the direction that's correct, right? Just like you said, Trunk O Mortgage Company. There's also Realtor O Mortgage, right? Realtor in a box, right? Not orders for use from $9.99.
Real air box, elf on a shelf. No, just kidding.
Buddy the elf, he's the man.
Got to do what's right for you
Yes.
and your family. Have the conversation with people that know things, right? Harry, you were talking about things to refresh your listing. Sometimes it's just what's your agent's Rolodex? How deep do I have contractors, carpenters, painters? Who can I bring to the house to make it look a little bit better?
like
And
that.
that's the hard conversation we're having during our list appointments, saying, hey, we need to do X, Y, and Z. It's going to cost you $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. But for doing that, now we can list our house in, the high fives as opposed to, that $499, hope that our bidding war pushes it into the low fives.
I'm threatening to get my real estate license, but one of
Please
the first
do.
things I would do if I did
'Cause you
that
breathe.
would have a list of,
You need
I would
your
have an
phone.
electrician. I would have a heating and cooling
Absolutely.
person. I'd have all these
Yeah.
people and stand by on my phone so I don't have to put on Facebook, hey, does anyone know of a plumber? I mean, come on, folks. How long have you been an agent
Yeah.
for? I know 4 plumbers in my cell phone here in the
Right.
contact, and I don't sell homes. So anyways, there's a lot of reasons to have that. I like that Rolodex.
Yeah.
Who do these people know? Who can they refer you to that can get the job done the right way?
And a
Thank you.
great person to have is an inspector, because once he finds an issue, he's also got the people that, hey, I've seen this person's work. If you're a contractor on houses, Kevin's probably seen your work, so he
Yeah.
probably knows the good ones versus the bad ones, and he can point you in the direction of, hey,
Right.
I'm not just going to call so and so. I'm not just going to call so and so because Kevin's seen their work. So hey,
Yeah.
maybe we steer them to somebody that maybe is a
Well,
little
a
more.
referral is always the best way to go.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right? It's
100%.
again, it's who you know in the industry. A referral is the greatest thing and the greatest compliment anybody can give is when you refer them out. So we're happy, we're lucky, we're blessed. The fact that we can go ahead and refer out so many people that we've dealt with in over 35 years of being in the industry. We know who does great work, and they'll be out there and they'll be responsive. I had a situation, real life situation we talk about. I had a furnace situation today. Guy was going to come out at 8:00 in the morning. I was ready to go. So he met me at 7:40 this morning. He's still there. I'm going to go back after the show, make sure, see what's going on, and go from there. And it was a referral. So that's the best way to go. Somebody that knows somebody
Yep.
that knows somebody is your best source.
Because how many times
not
the
your
8:00 shows
brother-in-law
up at
and
9:15?
sister-in-law.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Right.
you're right. You're 100% right.
It
All right,
always-
you guys. Hey, the central bank might not be bringing down interest rates. That's right. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell suggests that the central bank might not be ready to lower interest rates. We talked about 7% or somewhere in that vicinity is more of the norm now, and we might be stuck with this norm. Harry, you and I are bet. I hope rates come down in 2025, but if not, folks, these are the rates.
Well, the reason is that prices are still a little bit out of control. Inflation rose 2.7% last month from the month before.
Better, but not
so,
great.
So what we're seeing is that they're going to be a little bit slow to lower the Fed funds rate. Now, I still think that December 17th, 18th, I believe, is when they're meeting. I think they'll come out with a quarter point. But what's a quarter point going to do? If they came out with a half a point cut, it might move the market. But like I said, in 2025, rates are going to come down. They're just going to come down slower than everybody hopes. And that's where it's going. And I see 25 as being a better year than 24 in the home purchase market was great. And we did a lot of home purchases. I think it's going to be a better 25 by at least 5 to 10%.
I just
That's
like to
good news.
remind people that rent is 100% interest.
Oh, yeah.
And you can't write it off.
Thank you.
You cannot
Good
write
reminder.
it off. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we're coming up against the end of our show. So here, let's do our farewells here again. We
Yeah.
are going to go off the air till January 11th, but we'll be bringing the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show back for 2025.
Yeah. We're going to take some time off, let everybody reboot, get all their projections in. We're going to come back on the air stronger than ever, but we're never going to stop giving people the hardcore information that they deserve. You want to hear about it. You want to hear about what's going on in the market, and no fluff. Listen, there's no fluff in this show. You got a hardcore question, we'll give you a hardcore answer for it. But we're just happy that we can all be together, spend some time with our family, and we're grateful for all the opportunities that everybody's given us. And we just want to say a thank you and a shout out to everybody out there. And we really appreciate you. But we'll continue to give you the solid, strong advice that we've been giving people for 35 years. It's a long time.
And we're going to do it a little earlier at 8 a.m.
Yeah, that's right. We might
should,
come
we
on.
should probably tell
We might-
people
they
that.
might- They want us to come on from 8 to 9, Harvey, every
Yes.
Saturday morning.
So next
We'll do it.
year,
We'll be doing it.
we'll be early birds next year.
Let's go.
Let's do 8 to
Alrighty.
10.
You guys.
2 hours. Double down.
And we, a couple weeks off, but the Lions will still be going at it. In fact, a huge game tomorrow. So keep it here on 97.1
Thank
The
you, everybody.
Ticket.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas,
Happy
Happy
New
New
Year.
Year.
Christmas.
Keep
Go
rolling.
Lions.
Let's go. Got a call.
Got
a
Lions,
question. We'll answer it.
Tigers, Red Wings, Pistons. Again, keep it here on 97.1 The Ticket. We'll be back in 2025. I want to thank Matt Bush for joining
Thanks
us
for having
today
me.
with RE/MAX, and of course Kevin Scanlon with Home Inspection Professionals. Definitely get you guys back on for 2025. For Lisa Lawson, Harry Glanz, I'm Harvey Freed. We will see you next year.